Welcome back to another explainer. So today we're diving into something that honestly sounds like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood heist movie, but it's actually a staggering, hidden reality of our daily lives. You know, when most of us picture money laundering, we kind of just think of some shady guy running a cash-only laundromat, right? Well, the reality is a massive, highly sophisticated global operation that we call the ghost machine. Let's just jump right in.
Just take a second to look at the sheer scale of those zeros. $3 trillion. We're not talking about a couple of briefcases stuffed with cash being sneaked across a border here. This is a $3 trillion global engineering project. It's literally an economic phantom operating right under our noses, relying on incredibly complex logistics to keep the wheels turning.
Okay, so here's our blueprint for today. First, we'll look at the $3 trillion machine. Then, stage 1, placement. Stage 2, layering. Stage 3, integration. And finally, we'll wrap up with the future of the wash.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the $3 trillion machine, a global engineering project. Think about the entire global economy for a second. Your salary, your local grocery store, literally every legitimate transaction in the world. Now wrap your head around this. A massive 5% of global GDP just vanishes. It disappears into thin air, totally off the books, only to miraculously reappear later as clean luxury assets. It's like this gigantic parasitic system operating completely parallel to the 95% legitimate economy. So it really begs the question, right? How does that much illicit cash actually enter the clean system without setting off every single alarm bell on the planet? Well, that brings us to Section 2, Stage 1, placement, also known as the entry wound.
All right, imagine you're sitting on $1 million in illegal physical cash. You obviously can't just walk up to a bank teller and hand it over. I mean, that's going to trigger an immediate federal alarm. So how do you get around it? You use what are known as Smurfs. And no, not the little blue guys. Instead of one person lugging a giant bag of cash, you employ a whole army of runners. These runners take that $1 million, break it down, and fan out across the city to make hundreds of tiny, entirely invisible deposits. It's the calculated art of staying completely under the radar. See, a massive $1 million lump sum deposit, that triggers sirens, freezes accounts, and basically brings the authorities running. But 100 invisible deposits, each kept just under that magical $10,000 reporting threshold, to a bank, that's just background noise. It's the strategy of being, quite literally, too small to notice. And just like that, the cash is officially inside the banking system. The entry wound has been made. Now the pace really quickens. Let's move to Section 3, Stage 2, layering, or as I like to call it, the shell game. The job is far from over here, because right now, that money can still easily be traced back to those initial suspicious deposits. So the ultimate goal of layering is distance and confusion. First, those small deposits are just blasted out via wire transfers to offshore accounts. Next, they get routed through anonymous Cayman Island shell corporations, basically becoming this dizzying blur of digital movement. Finally, the money emerges somewhere completely different, like, say, a high-end London gallery to purchase fine art. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would a criminal syndicate suddenly develop a deep appreciation for a $20 million painting? Well, the answer is incredibly clinical. A canvas is simply a tool that standard banking sensors cannot track. It is the ultimate piece of illicit carry-on luggage. Think about it. A $20 million painting can be rolled up into a tube, flown across the globe, and purchased purely for evasion, not for the art itself. It's a brilliant, if entirely cynical way to use the cultural economy to obscure illicit wealth. The entire mechanical objective at this stage is perfectly captured by this idea: drowning the trail in a sea of paperwork. Seriously, by the time authorities try to trace the money from those initial Smurf deposits through the Cayman shells and out into the London art market, the trail is just hopelessly lost in international bureaucracy. The dirt has basically been washed away in a flood of documents. Which brings us to the climax of the process, Section 4, Stage 3, integration, which is the finish line. Think about that ultra-luxury condo you might walk past every day on your way to work. It might just be the physical manifestation of this finish line. This is the moment where all that theoretical, layered money becomes tangible, hard reality in our everyday world. The money is now considered clean, but it still needs to be brought fully back into the legitimate daylight economy. And here is exactly how that magic trick is completed. Step 1, the launderer takes those layered funds, maybe by selling that fine art we talked about, and invest the proceeds into major real estate. We're talking a luxury penthouse, a glass boardroom, a skyscraper.
Step 2, they liquidate that luxury development. And step 3, they collect the cash. But here's the kicker. That cash is no longer dirty. On official tax documents, it is recorded as a completely legal capital gain. The system doesn't just accept the cash, it legally rewards it as a clean dividend. The crime is entirely erased by the mechanics of global finance.
So where does this all go from here? Let's look at Section 5, the future of the wash, digital surveillance versus greed.
We are witnessing an absolutely high-stakes arms race right now. On one hand, AI-driven algorithms are becoming incredibly sophisticated, instantly spotting those subtle patterns of smurfing or sudden shell company movements. Total digital surveillance means the shadows where these crimes used to hide are shrinking rapidly. The wash is for sure getting harder to pull off. But there's a really stubborn reality here. As long as international tax havens refuse to share data, and as long as human greed exists, this $3 trillion ghost machine is going to keep finding new ways to spin. The entire landscape of global finance is changing, with digital data lines illuminating more and more of the globe every single day. So as those shadows continue to shrink, I'll leave you with this somewhat chilling question about the future of the ghost machine. How long can you really stay ahead of the light? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Until next time, keep questioning the world around you.